All right, my dudes, we are live with another Pangburn Hangout. Today, what day is it? Yeah, it's Friday. Of course, it's Friday. It's Friday, so we are here with Symmetry 7. We're going to be talking about cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm excited to listen in on this one. I'm going to mute myself and do a few shares, but yeah, Symmetry, the mic is yours.
Yes, indeed. All right. So pretty much, I didn't want to have some long dissertation to give everyone until we start. The basic idea is that probabilistically everybody deals with anxiety and depression and suffers in different levels and ways from that. And those anxiety and depressions are from uh, psychosocial elements in our life um, that and mental mood deficiencies, personality deficiencies, all these kind of things that we struggle with. We're looking for solutions to those things to alleviate that kind of pain and those kind of issues so that we can focus on more important things like helping others in life, helping ourselves first kind of thing. So I just kind of wanted to ask everyone and see what mostly lends to your anxiety and depression the most. It doesn't have to be life destroying anxiety or depression. It can just be a little bit. If it's something social or if it's something intrapersonal, just what are people's thoughts and feelings? And we together we can look for methodologies concerning psychotherapy and biomedical treatments, psychodynamic contexts of things, and try to help by doing cognitive behavioral therapy, talking together about this. We can help people who are struggling, and I think that's important. So tell us what you feel. Anybody? I guess I can start off, but I don't have anything specific on my mind at the moment. We can just talk about cognitive behavioral therapy, or we can start by sharing what we feel today, or what are you anxious and depressed about today? That's an easy topic to start on. What do you guys think? Anybody? Jimmy? What you got, man?
Yeah, I can go first.
Yeah, man. What's up?
I've got generalized anxiety disorder. So if anybody doesn't know what that is, you're basically you're anxious all the time for really no apparent reason that you're aware of. So that's something hard to cope with, especially since you can't put your finger on the problem.
Yeah.
It's really just cope with through medication if you can go see a doctor. So I mean, if anybody, oh, hold on, I gotta mute myself.
You're okay. Putting ourselves in other people's shoes to feel these kind of things for ourselves and understand how difficult it is for some people who go through life with these problems, and also being able to put yourselves in shoes when you're having these problems of other people who don't. Those two things are important for introspection and for self-reflection and understanding that other people may not suffer that way that you do, and they may think about the world in a very different way because they don't have to deal with that anxiety or depression or personality trait or something like that, right?
All right, I can talk now. I have silence again. Yeah, I've always suffered from it. I just didn't know that it was a thing until I was diagnosed with it. Since a kid, I struggled with making decisions. Like making a decision seemed like the biggest problem in the world, and I would have that overwhelming anxiety and tension in my body anytime I needed to make a decision. And I just got diagnosed with it maybe 2 or 3 months ago, finally. So I'm on
sucks living years and years with it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Years not even knowing what's going on. I completely feel you.
And it's nice to have a diagnosis. I mean, it doesn't change the problem, but it's nice to be able to actually name it and know what it is and deal with it, YouTube it,
Yeah,
see,
helps you seek the solutions, right?
yeah, see how other people deal with the problem.
Yeah.
You know, like this setting here. Now that I know
Mhm.
what it's like, you know, other people are dealing
Yeah.
with it, dialogue with people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, and then once you do have a diagnosis, you can look back in your life and you can see, I don't know if you want to call them red flags, but you can see all those
Triggers. Yeah.
yeah, you can see all those triggers. It's like, oh yeah, that's why I've been like that. That's why I've
Yeah.
had it in my
Yeah.
life. So yeah, I've been learning to cope with it. And if you do have GAD, you can still have normal anxiety like everybody else. You can get social anxiety.
Yeah.
Uh, you still get anxiety over
Yeah.
any other situation like anybody else would get. Like if you're running late for work,
Yeah.
it just do.
If you are
Um,
diagnosed with a mood disorder or something along the lines of those things like we are, then yeah, it's much worse than just regular anxiety. It is crippling. It is clinically crippling anxiety. And so, I
yeah.
feel for everyone who has GAD.
Um. Just the one last thing. It seems very dumb for someone who wouldn't understand. I feel like I'm monologuing here.
You're
Um,
good. Go ahead. You're good.
just something as um, simple as needing to open up a piece of mail that may be a bill. If you have
Yes.
if you have GAD, that is very difficult. You may let it sit there for 4 or 5 days because it's like over. Even though it's something that you know will not harm you at all, it may be a letter from somebody you know. You don't want to open and read it because it could be something negative, you know.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's
That's
my with GAD.
Yeah, GAD and mood disorders are serious. They're serious things and they affect us very seriously. It stops us from having, you know, there is no quote unquote normal person when it comes to mental distortions and cognitive problems and emotional regulation, those kind of things. There's no normal person, but there is a baseline of average through medical statistics that we can find. People, are happy when they're happy and sad when they're sad, and that's different for people who have mood deficiencies and personality deficiencies and like medical issues that cause them mental issues. Um, I mean, I'm completely empathetic because I myself am bipolar and I struggle weekly through just shifting moods and everything you said, Jimmy. And we've talked about this, of course, but everything you've said, I can resonate with and rebound it completely. It's all correct. People I don't think understand what people who have serious anxiety go through, and that's kind of what I want to do in life is try to help people realize how much harder life is on these people with these anxieties, at least relatively speaking. Everyone has their suffering they've got to deal with, but how much harder it is on those people to just get out of bed or open their mail or things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, good stuff. Anybody else have anything to say?
I don't
Anybody
know.
else want to? Yeah.
I don't know what the full extent of the topic is, but if we're talking about um, mental deficiencies, now I haven't had mine diagnosed because I don't really. Mine is probably too obvious to need to be diagnosed. I I know I have a crippling fear of rejection. In a similar vein to Jimmy, I do have some anxiety, not nearly to the degree that he does, and I have to say, Jimmy, I this isn't pity, obviously, but I feel horrible for you having to live every day of your life like that. That's not great. When your anxiety is so bad that you are afraid to even open your mail, that sucks. But for me, that takes on the form of I am afraid to meet new people, terrified to meet new people. I will actively avoid situations where there are new people I don't know because I
Yeah.
don't want to be rejected to the
Yeah.
point where I've literally lost sleep recalling instances in my mind where I tried to be nice to someone and they rejected me for whatever reason. something as simple as walking up to another truck driver to try and start a conversation, him not be in the mood, and basically, in the most polite way he possibly can, gesture that he doesn't want to be talked to, and that shit bothers me all night. So, and I also probably have some form of PTSD.
Yeah.
Again, it hasn't been diagnosed, but given the trauma I had to go through most of my childhood, I probably have some form of PTSD.
Yeah.
So, that's a thing.
That's okay. That's where we're looking for some solutions here collectively. And I definitely understand. I've never, I've never had the fear of rejection, but I know it's something serious, and I don't know how I would deal with that. I don't have the mental willpower brackets in place to support that kind of structure in my mind. I just don't even know how I would deal with it. So kudos to you, sir.
Yeah, neither do I. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah. No, I feel for you. There are, of course, cognitive behavioral therapies that some clinical psychologists and clinical psychiatrists use to help avoidant personalities and fears and rejection and things like that. But I don't know the biomedical treatments for that kind of stuff. I don't know the kind of mood stabilizers or anything like that they would put you on. I'm not really sure because I've never had those issues. But there's definitely some form of either cognitive behavioral therapy or some form of like humanistic therapy that has been developed for people who have that kind of PTSD and have that kind of avoidant personality. And I know that there's probably help out there. We just have to find it. We have to help each other find it. So,
well, if I may,
yeah,
just to throw this in here because this is something I haven't thought about. I can't say the same for Jimmy's situation, although I'm sure that there's a connection to be made if you could dig deep enough. But in my case, at least, I know part of the reason why I have this fear of rejection is because I felt like through most of my childhood, I was rejected by my parents. And as you know, wanting to fit in with a tribe is kind of part of the human condition. Because once upon a time, if the tribe rejected you, your ass was dead.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess. My best guess would be, and I'm no doctor, no psychiatrist. But I'm gonna guess that something in my brain clearly makes a very unhealthy connection between being rejected by people and somehow my survival being threatened.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, actually makes the whole thing even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's so far from the truth. But that's where I'm going to guess that it came from. Being rejected by my parents and peers all throughout my childhood, to the point where a lot of time it did lead to me getting, bullied and shit like that. And so now it's like, now my brain is like, well, shit, if I get rejected too many times, I might be cast out of society and fed to the sharks. But anyway.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Totally okay. I've always thought about rejection as if someone rejects you, you have no idea. Rejects you initially, you don't know them very well. You have no idea who that person is. So it could be the scum of the earth that just rejected you, and that'd be a good thing. But I know it's not that easy. Like Hitler rejecting you or something silly like that. I know that's outside of the realm. But anyway, yeah, we'll come back to that in a second because I definitely want to talk more about it. What about anybody else? Is Dalsu, John, anybody, Milos, anybody feeling anything today? Hello.
Oh, I'm feeling minorly apprehensive because I'm moving a pretty extreme distance. But that's about it. Otherwise I'm good. But it means I have to separate from my partner for a while. So that kind of sucks. If we're doing heart to heart thing.
Okay.
But it'll be okay.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we cope. What are your coping mechanisms?
I
Hobbies?
don't, off the top of my head, I don't know. Exercise, probably.
Okay, so exercise does help. Well, yeah.
Exercise, probably just achievement in general. So like doing work helps. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, for real, that's
Be.
good advice in general to talk about exercise and diet, because that can really help your mental state as well.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but it definitely can. But it's not going to solve it completely, but it will help regulate your body so that you don't have to have your body betraying you at the same time as your mind.
100%.
Yeah. Dalsu, what's up? I ain't heard a peep from you. I'm gonna keep pestering until I get a hit from you. What about what else we have out here down in chat? I haven't even seen. Now I don't know if I can pronounce that one, but what about Tabaron? What are your thoughts?
Well, I am totally okay. I just had a pretty good day, and it's a little bit weird to talk about it as everyone is sharing their problems, but I am pretty happy today. Just
That's good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can understand just being content, and that's okay. We don't specifically have to keep talking about this exact topic if a lot of people are uncomfortable with it, but I just enjoy analyzing psychology and analyzing social interactions between people and just getting a better understanding of it to the very base foundations. So if
yeah, I
anybody has
understand.
if anybody has anything about psychology or really anything that has to do with what we're talking about, bring it up. Don't worry that you're going to derail the conversation. It's okay.
Uh, so if I should name like my biggest problem right now, it's me being unmotivated to just do some job, do some productive things because I just don't have to
Ah,
do them, and I rather do some unproductive things and just sit uh, and play games or things like that.
okay.
So that would be my problem.
I mean, that's a problem, and that's probably causing, I would say, at least some anxiety to where you don't know what's going to happen immediately in your future.
Yeah, that's maybe a little bit.
um, let's see. Milo, got any thoughts? I heard you jump in,
Yeah,
man.
how are you doing, guys?
Yeah,
Um,
what's up?
so I'm just thinking, just first, I just wanted to make some points about cognitive behavioral therapy in general.
Sure.
Where the focus is in terms of cognition, right? It's just an idea of how to use thinking to change and influence your behavior, right? That's the whole
Yeah,
idea of cognitive behavioral therapy. How do you
yeah,
influence the process of thinking to change your behaviors?
yeah.
And there's something that it's important here is in this process of thinking, the way this therapy usually works is that they would want to identify the core pain that
Right,
you're actually experiencing, and
right,
with core pain in the process of therapy would go to identify the false beliefs. So
right.
when you match those things, usually that would help people create a narrative, hopefully healthier narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Once you identify, hey, this is my core pain, like
Right,
Aaron mentioned, rejection, or being rejected by his parents. Probably that would be, let's say, diagnosed in a way as a core pain. And the
right,
false belief would follow in terms of like, I'm just going to be rejected by everyone else. And these are the 2 points that a cognitive behavioral therapist would actually work on, which is core
right.
pain and core belief, a false belief. But not recently, like a few years back, there's a branch called ACT, which is acceptance and commitment therapy, which is also a branch from cognitive behavioral therapy which focuses on a healthier side in terms of like, okay, how do you, once you understand your core pain and core and false beliefs, what do you actually want to be fighting for? You know, what's worth striving
Right. Your
for?
motivation. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And the idea
Yeah.
of acceptance is accepting that life comes with pain, life comes with struggles. And the commitment part is, despite all those struggles and pains, you know, I'm committed to improving, you know, my behavior, my health,
Right.
while, you know, coping and dealing with these types of struggles, right?
Yeah.
And you know, while core belief, false belief, and core pain is important in cognitive behavioral therapy, in ACT, what is important is value qualification. Is like, hey, what do I care about, and how do I want to build my life around those things that are
Yeah.
valuable for me? So,
Yeah.
you know, just to start, I just wanted to kind of maybe outline the field for us to
No,
maybe
that's great.
discuss in terms of the core pain, core belief,
Yeah.
and what
There
is
needs to
what.
be, yeah, I'm with you. I agree with you 100%. There needs to be a psychological discipline that studies core pain, like you described, because cognitive behavioral therapy may not give us the answers to motivation in the future. So I'm kind of with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's kind of
Can we
that's
agree?
one thing to go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can we agree? I'm not going to say in every case because that would be generalizing. There's exceptions to every rule. But can we agree that in the vast number of cases of behavioral and more importantly, mental disorders, ones that
Yes.
you weren't born with, because some of
Right.
them you're just born with,
Right.
like ADHD and ADD and things like that.
Yeah.
Can we agree that the vast majority of them start with traumatic experiences when you're a child at that very impressionable period of your life?
A lot of the antisocial ones do, but not all. Not all personality disorders and not all mood disorders are specifically genetically dependent. You know, of course, it's a mixture of your genetics and your environment, nature and nurture. But they have so many different graphs on each. You know, schizophrenia, bipolar, all the different graphs show sometimes it's 90% environmental and sometimes it's 10% genetics, and then sometimes it's the opposite. So that there's not really a
Okay.
consensus on which one causes it the most.
Is bipolar something that you can develop over time? I figured that bipolar is one of those things that you either
It
were
is
born with or you don't have.
it is mostly genetic, what they think, but from all the videos and stuff I've read about it, they don't know yet. They don't know which one is more prevalent, but they think it's more genetic. And it's a mood disorder. You know, it's not a it's a different category than other disorders. So
But I thought there were certain things that could happen in your life, like if people develop PTSD and that kind of stuff. There are certain things that can
oh yeah,
trigger. Yeah.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, PTSD is probably not genetic at all if I were to think about it.
No, because war veterans get PTSD all the time.
Yeah, it's completely
I believe it's
environmental in
uncommon.
that case. Yeah,
No,
You
but I
have
was
a
saying,
propensity, perhaps.
yeah, but I was
yeah.
saying like because there are like outside of events that have caused people to go into a bipolar state, though, right? Like, so it's
I
not
think
necessarily that
so.
someone was born with it and they
Yeah,
have it,
because
or like something happened and then
there's adult onset bipolar, and I didn't get mine until I was about 21. The symptoms didn't start showing up till about then. So
So of course I
there
bring
are
up that question to simply say that if we're gonna treat kids as precious, which I suppose there's some merit to that, we also have to acknowledge that if we can avoid some of these mental disorders that are brought on by early childhood trauma, which of course, because you're at such an impressionable age, those things tend to stick with you for the rest of your life if you're really
right.
unlucky. I can certainly attest to that. We got to be careful with how we allow parents to treat kids, because some child that
Yeah,
grows up in an orphanage, they're gonna have something. Just
absolutely.
saying.
Do you think the government should take children away from homes like yours in the past like that, or do you think
Yes.
like it should be okay? Okay.
Some people just aren't fit to be parents, and unfortunately, it takes them being
Yeah.
parents for that to be the case.
You're right.
Sorry.
Yeah, because they wouldn't know if they hadn't already tried it, and you wouldn't know if they failed either unless they tried it. So, yeah, it's always going to be the case where I wonder who really needs the power to do that. You know, states or who knows. But yeah, you're right. If most of it is PTSD that is causing a lot of these mental problems of anxiety and depression, or at least a good chunk, a plurality, that needs to be looked into more. There's not enough study into these areas.
Because of course, I think one of the absolute worst things, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but here we are. I think one of the absolute worst things that can result from a mental disorder is thoughts of an attempted suicide.
Yes.
That's not, if we're ever going to progress as a species, we got to do something about that. We have to get to the point where we get enough of a handle on types of mental disorders like bipolar disorder or anxiety or depression, more specifically. We've got to do something to make sure that we at least get enough of a handle to where people don't want to kill themselves. I know what it's like, and it's not a fun place to be.
I agree.
Do you guys think progress is being made on that front? Because I can remember like 20 years ago when people would mock like the very idea of PTSD. Now it's like pretty much recognized as like, yeah, it's absolutely real, right?
That's a great point. That is a great point, because I asked my psychiatrist that, and she said within the last 30 years, it's been a huge boom of different sub-disciplines and things like that to take care of all this, and medications come a long way. She said if this was 30 years ago, you'd be in a lot worse of a spot. So I trust her on that she knows at least enough of what she's talking about.
I would certainly agree that progress absolutely has been made. I mean, if they're natural, I have no problem with it. If there are natural drugs that can be taken to help someone deal with their depression, I'm all for it. At this point, whatever it takes. That's the way I see it.
I'm not condoning anything illegal, but I know one thing that perfectly helps me.
Marijuana.
But anyway, Dalsu, what you thinking, man?
Yeah. Well, I've never been to like a psychiatrist or anything like that, so I'm not diagnosed with anything really. But
that's good.
Paying attention. Well, I don't know if that's good because I've never been to the doctor. I might have a plethora of mental disorders I'm unaware of. But I have noticed at least a sort of seasonal depression type of thing that happens. It's usually from about this time till a little after Christmas, roughly.
Yeah.
And I kind of try to combat it, but it affects my drive, so I end up just choosing to hibernate, essentially.
Do you think that has to do with like the Earth movement or anything, or would that be just silly woo-woo?
Has to do with what?
Like the Earth's rotation around the sun. I've heard some people say that has something to do with seasonal depression and things like that. I have no idea.
I mean, maybe I would say for me specifically, it does to the extent that it might be a thing like a traumatic event from when I was younger. So the time that we were oriented around the sun. But I think it would be something because when I was like a teenager, my mom took up heroin, and she kind of did some shitty things and then skipped town and just kind of left. And I think that kind of still gets to me around this time. And I don't know. I'm still trying to work through it and figure out if that is what's happening and how best I should proceed, I guess.
Well, you're doing cognitive behavioral therapy on yourself, so good on you. You know what I mean? So that's okay. You don't necessarily need a psychiatrist to tell you yourself these things. You know, you can do autodidactical study online and just try to teach yourself the best you can about these things, about psychotherapy, and psychosocial things.
I try to do that often in practicing that
Yes.
a lot and constantly reflecting, and it gets it easier because a lot of issues can build, and you can become more mentally disturbed by many triggers of bad experiences. So it could next thing you know, you're building up a lot of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just good to it's good to practice that. I'm a little twisted in a way where I kind of go to it. I don't really run away from things that would be awkward. I'd engage. I'd engage in it, and then I'd more go at it, and I'll try to have an understanding. When you have an understanding of things, it makes you be able to more cope with it than just the fear of it. You get what I'm saying? That's why I felt this way. Or so it's kind of like, and then you kind of like when you understand, and then you can more manage. You can more deal with.
Yeah,
it's not just the fear anymore.
Yeah,
but some people they don't understand. They don't really understand themselves, and they don't understand others. Sometimes the anxiety that they're getting with another person, it's really the person that has the anxiety, and it's just a self-defense mechanism, and where they're just shutting down on you because they don't know how to engage with people. They're socially awkward, and they have
that could be a part of social. Yeah, that could be one version of social anxiety.
The anxiety that they're giving to you in kind of like being dismissive, it's really about an insecurity within themselves and not wanting to look stupid and interacting with you and socially engaging with you because they're just socially awkward people. Some people, they're just not good at being open. So they close themselves.
Is that what you're doing?
Real quick, go ahead.
Are you making fun of me, Nivik? Is that what you're doing? I feel like you're talking directly to me when you say that.
Maybe a little bit of
projection.
projection.
You're not like that. You're not a person that would like close off, be rude, because sometimes a person think a person's an asshole. Sometimes a person's not really an asshole. They're just socially awkward, and they just they kind of like they act dismissive of you because they just don't know how to interact. And they feel insecure. They're afraid to look stupid because they just don't know really how to talk and be open and not what to say. But some people, they generally are assholes, and and they're just being a douche. You kind of have to, you kind of read between the lines. And sometimes when you kind of read it between the lines, okay, it's an social awkward person. You don't be too confronting. You come off nice, break the ice in a way. Hi, how you doing? Good morning. You could Aaron, you could open up in a way in where you could attack with kindness. It's kind of like you put a person in a situation in where, hi, good morning, how are you? How's everything going? It's kind of like they would open up. It would you put them in a spot in a way. You know what I mean? Of that fear. In where they'd say, in where you would get a response. So if they don't, like the fear of that fear of rejection that you have, they'll have that fear on them and not wanting to look like an idiot because they're socially awkward. They're insecure.
I follow what you're saying. Let Aaron respond real quick.
I mean, look, my problem is I just don't like not fitting in. But I agree, Nivik. I have put up sort of a defense mechanism in the simple fact that because I'm so quick to assume that most of the people who I try to engage with are going to reject me, I just say fuck it and not even try. I recognize that, and I'm going to tell you something. And as easy as it is for me to sit here and say, yes, I know that I'm terrified to actually try and talk to people. You catch me at home where I have the entire planet of people to meet, I will happily sit in my apartment and not go anywhere because it's easy to say the things that you need to do, but to tell me, hey, let's go to this part, nah. Hey, let's go to this social gathering. No, I'm good. I'm good. I just don't want to be bothered.
Introspect at yourself and find out what is it you're insecure about and overcome it.
Yeah, man. Solitude is okay.
I would also like, if you're looking to make a change, I'd recommend exposure therapy. So like
Yes.
when you stop somewhere, try to chat up a stranger, someone that you'll
Mm-hmm.
never talk to again, as like
Exactly.
practice and kind of build
Exactly.
You
up
want
that
me to have a
muscle.
heart attack?
Oh yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of time. Just saying hi at first maybe might be the good
Some
starting
people are
step.
going to reject you. Some people will,
Yeah,
and that's okay.
and
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't want to bother.
Aaron, when I say
but you'll
introspect and
never
understand yourself,
you'll
you don't.
never
When you know who you are, you're not fearful anymore because nobody can tell you who you are. You know who you are,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
so you don't care
The,
anymore.
the big thing is that mental issues and people's feelings and sufferings with these mental issues should not be taboo. You know what I mean? You may get rejected because people have a taboo with talking about these things, and that's too bad for them because they're going to lose out on good friends. You know what I mean? We should all care very much about each other's mental issues because we have to live in the same space with each other. So,
Yep.
Yeah, but at the same time, I can't fix Jimmy's anxiety.
no,
I wish I could fix it, but I can't. All
you're
I can
helping
do
it
is
by talking right
open
now,
up.
though. By talking
Well,
to us, that's helping us.
let him say that.
I know Jimmy well enough to know that he feels the same way I do about it. So I just spoke for him.
I just wanted to piggyback on something Aaron said about suicide and awareness about it.
Yes.
I don't know about what you all think. I mean, awareness has definitely gone up, but I wish it was kind of driven more towards, instead of the billboards all saying like, "Here's the suicide hotline." I wish they had like the hotline number, but then it was like, don't be afraid to talk with your friend or someone in your family. Like, I wish it was
Yeah.
more relationship driven.
Yes.
It's just far more effective when you talk with someone that you already have a relationship with, as opposed to someone you don't know at all on the other end of this line.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, if you look at the suicide numbers, they're in America, they're just crazy.
Yeah.
And if you can't connect with someone, the chances of you committing suicide are just, drastically much higher.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we're doing here is the best form of changing those statistics, is creating those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Human
So,
connection.
But when you have someone who feels like they have nothing left, what do you legitimately say to someone whose depression is so bad? And again, I speak from experience. What do you say to someone whose depression is so bad they legitimately do not see a reason to live anymore? What do you say to that person?
That's a little that's
right.
pretty complicated there.
Exactly.
Well,
that's my point.
Yeah. That there is clinical help for those
regular
people.
anxiety, not a person wanting to blow their brains out.
No, we're talking about everything.
Level.
Talking about everything, Nivik. We're not excluding anything here. I don't mean that as a shutdown. I'm just saying, definitely talking about suicide all the way to regular anxiety as well, because I've dealt with suicide as well, and it's based on my bipolar depression. I can't do anything about that feeling, and it's there, and I found out through kind of like a skeptical optimism about it that I'm okay with it now, whereas I didn't used to be, and it took a lot of introspection, like you talked about. But there is clinical help for people out there like Aaron and like me who want to go and talk to someone. There are people who work specifically on these types of anxieties and depressions that can help. We've just got to find those people, and we've got to help other people find those people.
And I think each of us have our methods
everyone
in how
in
to
this
handle
Discord have psychological issues or something.
I think each person in this Discord have methods in how they manage it, and they can possibly share, because there are people that have different anxieties that some people, they don't think of it as anything, and some people they think of but the anxiety that they have, the other people, they don't think of it as anything because they just have ways of just, it's like water off a duck's back to them.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to me, like certain issues, I wouldn't necessarily dwell about something bothering me at a stressful time. I'll just not just put it off. And then later on, when in a relaxing state, I have a nice meal, I'm relaxing, and I'm just gonna sit back, and probably listen to music or something, and probably just take my time and reflect, and try to understand and figure things out, and not try to do all of that in a hectic environment, because it will just potentially make it worse.
Yeah.
Because you have to face it, whatever it is bothering you.
Yeah.
And you you try to like there's methods, of going about it, and that's kind of my method. Sometimes thinking about something, it might not be at the right time, and it could be at a hectic time. Like you're probably working or something like that. So to just you put this, just don't think about that, and say, okay, well, it's too stressful now, I'm not going to think about that, and set a time when you're going to do that, and it's a calm, relaxing place, and you just you probably have a nice big meal, and you relax, and you just go and meditate, and then you try to reflect and understand why what's bothering you is bothering you.
Yes, it's a big part of helping mental illness is introspection. I agree.
I'd like to ask this question, specifically when it comes to anxieties. Is it safe to say that anxiety is I'm not going to say a reaction to, but that anxiety and fear are very closely related in what they mean and how they're applied?
Yeah.
Well, I would say if we're talking about therapy, like someone said earlier, I do think that for certain types of anxiety, if you could get to the root of what your brain actually thinks is going to happen in the worst case scenario, and then put yourself in that position and see that the worst thing that could happen isn't actually that bad, that might be an effective method of dealing with certain anxieties, especially social anxieties. If you're just afraid of people, then at some point you should sit down and go, okay, what is it that my brain honestly thinks is going to happen here?
Right.
And then go, well, that doesn't make any sense. Put yourself in that position. And then go, see, was it that bad? And do that a few times until maybe your brain finally goes, oh, maybe it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm simplifying it, I realize, but
no, that's fine. That's what Dao Su was bringing up. Dao Su made that point very beautifully. Is that exactly what you just said? But anybody else want to jump in with us?
And people can have triggers too that take them back.
Hang on 1 second, Nivik. Wait, one second.
Kind of add to what Nivik said earlier, actually. This is kind of mostly pertaining to like body image issues or things like anorexia, where you're worried you're not skinny enough, but kind of well, I'll start with an analogy. Not even overcompensating, like over self-reflecting, looking at what's the word we're using? Not self-reflecting.
Introspection.
Yeah, overusing the introspective tool, I think, can be damaging if you create this kind of false narrative, this box, and you kind of try to shove yourself in it. So
there's a specific term for that. If you've never heard it, it's called analysis paralysis, where you try to analyze something to the point where you can't do anything.
Yep.
Yeah, for anxiety, but also for like body issues where you're like, my boobs need to be bigger, so I'm gonna take too much of this medication and drink a lot of milk, or
my boobs need to be bigger.
Yeah, my boobs need to be bigger.
Yeah, I feel that too.
Andy, what's up? Nope, don't go away. You're gonna talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not much. Just available for a little bit less than an hour. I'm making dinner. I got a steak in the oven.
Okay, all right. Don't let it burn.
Is that a
I
euphemism?
wanted to ask Dalsu, why would you have issue with your needing your boobs to be bigger? I mean, wouldn't you have to introspect in order to understand that?
Well, what I mean exactly is
Small boobs
I
can be
think
a
a
good thing.
bush analogy works best. So like I'm a landscaper. So if you
Gotcha.
imagine a bush that's growing all over the place, if it doesn't
Is that a
doesn't trim
euphemism?
itself, if it doesn't have yes, it's a euphemism. But
Hey, a good bush can be a good thing too.
you can have branches, like one of your branches could grow to block your own sunlight and kind of choke out the rest of the bush, and for the total bush that might be bad. You could imagine yourself growing like a tree. Imagine a bush that wants to be a tree, and so it like trims its bottom leaves and grows as tall as it can grow and just tries to become as tree-like as it can, but it cut all the bottom leaves away from its base, and so the water around its base dries out and it dies because it's strangling itself to try to be this thing that it's not, this vision. And I think introspection can lead to the same sort of thing. If you concentrate on this vision, this perfect thing you want to be, you might lose sight of what you actually are.
Yeah, balance. Yeah.
I mean, it's all about putting it in perspective, right? I don't want
sorry,
to.
Nate. No.
Bro, please, man, you go ahead.
I'm still a bit confused about which type of bush you were talking about.
Hey man,
Manzanita.
So great.
Manzanita.
there's nothing
was
wrong
great.
with a good bush.
Well, introspecting is not about being perfect. It has nothing to do with
No,
perfection.
no, but Nivik, there
No,
are
but
things you can
It's about
indoctrinate yourself
understanding.
into. There are things you can. He's just saying there are things you can indoctrinate yourself into by introspecting in certain ways. Of course, introspection in general is an amazing thing.
Although
like
I
think of
do wonder.
someone. You can go ahead.
Oh,
I was just gonna say, like, think of someone, Nivik, that goes on WebMD looking for diagnosis, and they find, all the worst things that they could possibly find, and so they start freaking out, and they go and schedule an appointment.
Yeah, I know people who've done that.
I mean,
I've thought about it.
The worst, because I'm interested in.
Sure.
I'm interested in what Delsu's saying, and with in the worst things you could possibly find with yourself. So you're like looking at your body. I'm that like you're talking when you're talking about reflecting. It more like sounds like you're talking about looking in the mirror and seeing what you could, like, I'm talking about the psychologically understanding your mind.
Oh, metaphorically, gotcha.
And and why you feel the way you do when it comes to things. You're trying to understand yourself, and there are things that make you feel the way you do. And I think sometimes people they don't really have a deep understanding of themselves. It could be something that made them feel a certain way is a trigger, and then they think back and it's like, okay, I remember every time I saw like this. When I see a turkey, whatever you reflect back and you remember at the time you got beat up. They're a bunch of turkeys around. Yeah, whatever triggers. I'm talking about just understanding your mind and how it is.
I'm sorry you had such a rough Thanksgiving, Nivik.
So like
introspection is hard, Nivik. That's why a lot of people don't want to do it. It's just hard as fuck.
Actually, what you're saying is what I found out. It's like the hardest form of thinking, because
it really is.
You have to look, and it's kind of like understand. You have to kind of like come to an understanding of thing issues with you,
Yes.
Or maybe not even issues with you. The potential of trying to understand yourself, it can bring up things. It can bring up flaws.
Oh yeah,
biases. And it's like, well, it's because you're this and you're that. Why that didn't happen or work. It could be. So you kind of like have to be careful when.
Let's let somebody else jump in.
I guess I'm saying the same thing as you, Nivik. I'm just saying that sometimes people will do they'll do it the other way. Like people will misunderstand that they're supposed to be assigning issues to they won't assign issues to themselves. They'll be
I understand what you're saying.
They'll be introspecting, but then they'll say, "Oh, the reason that the boys at school don't like me is because I'm not pretty enough, or the girls at school don't like me is because I'm not, strong enough." And so that guy,
yeah.
The
There's a
boys at school
method to
hated me because I
introspecting
was too pretty.
Yeah.
Yep. That's another thing. Yeah, vanity is a huge, that might as well be a mental disorder. I'm sure it is.
Yeah. So there's a bad way and a good way of doing it, and you kind of have to balance that.
Aaron.
We're talking about two different approaches.
Just keep talking. Just keep talking. They'll let you in a minute.
No, I like what Doubts was saying.
If we're
It's
talking
okay.
about behavioral therapy, I suppose I should pose the question. I feel like a lot of what we've talked about now are things that are curable, I suppose. But how would you, for instance, Symmetry, approach behavioral therapy for someone with a chronic mental disorder? Because I only recently learned that chronic means like cure.
Yeah. You're asking the important question I ask every day I wake up.
Great, thanks.
You're asking the one where, how do I control my depression when I'm not depressed over anything and I want to go jump off a bridge? It's neurochemicals, man. I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't. I mean, that's what I'm trying to learn.
That may be where drugs are about as good as we're ever going to get.
Let's not pose no one doing illegal substances. Wink, wink.
Well, I didn't say all that.
Diet helps.
Yeah, exercise and diet does help.
When I think we are currently we're at a point where we don't really understand it, and we can't understand the direct source, right? So we have to just sort of treat what pops up.
Exactly.
But, I mean, unfortunately that's the case we're in. I do think over time we're going to get better and better and have better information, and it will change.
Yes.
We'll look back and be like, "Oh, can you believe they fucking gave kids Ritalin? That's fucking insane!" Yeah. Like, of course it's going to happen. But right now, that's the best we got.
Yeah.
You know what I what Sue said about introspect. I like what he said in the doing it like introspecting in the bad way. I think that there's negative and there's positive forms, and where you could be trying to win a person's approval. That always putting you down. It could be. But like a aunt or a father, and it could be a negative introspecting in where it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's like I'm just not trying hard enough, and I could do better. But in reality, it is a power dynamic, and the person is just not giving you their approval for power over you, and no matter what you do, you always you're never gonna get any type of positive feedback and acknowledgement. So you're just doing in a bad cycle in a person that is like probably a boss or whatever. They're doing things. It's just it's a negative relationship. They're just doing things to trip you up and everything like that. Because really, it's just that there's not an interest of validating you, and that's the power that they have is not giving you validation. So therefore, you never get it. You never get any type of you're okay or any type of nice compliment or anything. You just You're trying to win this person over. It's a negative person, so they're not going. It's an asshole, so they're just never going to do it. Versus the positive one, in where you say, okay, well, I understand myself. I know who I am, and I don't really care what a person thinks and how I engage with them. I'll just be open, and they can say to me what they want or call me what I want. It doesn't matter to me because I know myself. I know who I am, and I'm confident in myself.
But I mean, like the fundamental problem with that, just real quick, I don't think the world exists on an issue of power dynamics. It's not a gradient of power between every human being. I just don't think that's the way the world really works. I mean, I see why you come to that conclusion. I just don't think that's the way the world actually works.
Babowski, if I may, because you mentioned something earlier about the progress we've made, I just want to throw this on the table, especially when it comes to something like dealing with something like a chronic depression or a chronic anxiety, which I'm sure that's a thing.
You don't think people would like to have power over others?
Hold on, Nivek.
I can't help myself. I
know. It's okay.
I have to respond to that.
Nivek, let him finish.
Okay.
I would, for right now, and this is a discovery that I've come to recently that's kind of helped me with my depression. So, while we're still cavemen that are mostly self-interested, yeah, it's going to suck. However, I fully believe that at some point in the future, as we continue to evolve and as we continue to maybe become more and more selfless, that dealing with things like depression, not only will we be able to empathize more, but because of that, we'll be a lot more motivated to find ways to help these people. Because for right now, while most people are mostly self-interested, which I'm not going to say that's a good or a bad thing. We all want to survive and do whatever that takes. But as we continue to evolve and as survival becomes less and less of a thing that we have to worry about every day of our lives,
right,
I can almost guarantee you that dealing with issues like a chronic depression will be way easier.
I agree with you.
I agree with you too. Yeah.
I can't wait for that, to be honest with you. I may be in my 80s, but fuck
not going to see it.
Man, I don't know. I feel like something like that is like we're probably like 50 years away, right? I mean, it
probably
can't be that far off.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's any consolation, I imagine that the earliest humans didn't flock in the largest groups, right?
Yeah.
So where you have a tribe of maybe 10 or 20, and if they came across another hostile tribe, I mean, shit was about to hit the fan. Whereas now, we live in these big-ass countries with millions and millions of people, and we're not all at each other's throats. So clearly progress has been made. If we continue trending in that direction, then
Aaron, have you read... You're okay, buddy. I agree with you. Have you read Steven Pinker's The Better Angels of Our Nature? You really need to read that book. I'm telling you. It's like paramount to understanding how much better we are as a world than we were 100 years ago, and even 200 years ago. I
don't need to read a book to know that.
Yeah. Oh no, you made an amazing point a minute ago. That's what's going to eventually happen, because mental illness will become more prevalent. It will become a bigger problem. It'll be in people's faces, and then they'll have to fucking deal with it. You know what I mean? That's how everything in humanity is dealt with. Is, oh God, this is a problem, a big problem now. We got to fucking deal with it. You know? So it's just going to come to a geyser point at some point in the future.
Okay. Yeah. When I was talking before, I wasn't necessarily talking about power dynamic and approval. I mean, some folks you engage with, there could be issues with them. You know, in not gelling with you. It you know, like I mentioned, some people they could have insecurity, or they can just not like you, you know. And you could be reflecting on yourself in a way in where you're introspecting in a self-harming way and caring what and other things that might have issues wrong with them, and doing things that are harmful to you, like and trying to caring what a person thinks that is probably psychologically messed up themselves, and when you understand yourself, it wouldn't really matter what type of interacting you have with a person, whether it's negative or not, because you understand who you are.
I see. Dasu Lebowski, you got a response to that?
That'll tell you, buddy.
I have no idea how to approach. I don't know if the world is built out of power dynamics either, though. I'm not really sure.
I agree with Dalsu in negative introspecting. He's saying like trying to be perfect. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's bad.
Oh no, there's yeah.
I zoned out. I'm making a PB&J. Sorry about that.
Nivik accidentally zoned you out. It's all good. Totally good. I was listening to him. I was listening. It's okay. Your point was made, and I take it. Anybody else? Mace, Jimmy, what's up? Or Milo, or anybody else?
I could make a point on introspection.
Please do.
I've found that you can very quickly find like the red button to your soul if you introspect properly.
Yeah.
Like you can find the chaos deep inside you that you don't want to deal with. Like if you introspect on the topic that you really, when you introspect, you're not really thinking about stuff that you don't want to think about. But in my history, I've introspected on things that have given me panic attacks before.
Oh yeah, me too.
And those things that have given me panic attacks have always been the things that I've needed to deal with the most. So for anyone listening, if you do introspection and it affects you that much, you probably need to deal with it as soon as you can.
There's different forms of introspection that can help too, just to tag on there.
So Jimmy, are you saying like you might like have a lot of things in the closet that you ignored and it kind of piled up, so when you reflect on it, it's just too much?
Sometimes with generalized anxiety disorder, it's not that way.
It's not like you ignore them or ignore what you're introspecting on.
Yeah.
You're
like Dalsu said, like take baby steps.
Like in my case, your mind just kind of runs away with itself on something. But it can be that you have let something gone too long as well. Because you have to remember, when you're introspecting and you find something like that, you're diving into the chaos of your mind. And that's scary for someone. So that's why it induces the panic and anxiety.
I guess like taking baby steps.
Something that you'll love, Nivik. I think that's the thing that I always liked about Jordan Peterson the most, was his willingness to say that anyone can be a Nazi if put in the right position, and anyone's capable of anything, because we have that chaos inside somewhere that's all, I don't know. He gets all metaphorical at that point.
Yeah, he does.
That's interesting. What like Nazi?
He's just using that as reference.
Yeah, that was more of an example.
It's a good example of the way that our union shadow can manifest itself in our own malevolence.
That was
The
wow. That was pretty
substrate.
good.
Yeah, you're good at that.
Yeah, the
I need to
metaphorical
copy
Who
you.
was
substrate. Oh
that?
my god.
That was a very good Kermit the Frog impression.
That's the same hack shit that everybody does. But it's
I
good.
can do
That's why it's
Smeagol.
good.
I can't do Kermit the Frog, but I can do Smeagol. Now, precious.
That's
What's
pretty
the
good.
deal with shitty impressions?
That's good.
What's the deal with Kramer saying the N-word?
Well, that was a weird episode, right? I mean, the one where Kramer was telling stand up in the opening. That was a weird one.
Good segue.
God damn. Yep.
What other I don't know where Aaron went. I was going to ask him something. He's not here anymore. Well, I guess solutions to our anxiety and our depression, the clinical ones like me, Jimmy, and other people like that, is just the best help you can do for yourself is go talk to a therapist who understands these things and get them as a third party objective, looking into you introspectively or extrospectively. What do you want to say? That's probably the best advice, because clinically people like us, we need medication. That's sad to say, but biomedical treatments are necessary for some disorders, or you don't go to your job. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Well, there's that, and then friendship with like-minded people, or not like-minded, but who understand or who have similar problems.
I think that's probably the most important.
I agree. Close friendships that have thinly veiled homoeroticism are very important.
Hey, it can be full on eroticism for me. I'm gay, so it doesn't bother me.
All right.
Yeah. But
you know what? When Datsu mentioned who mentioned Hitler? Anyways, I saw a video in Triggers, and there was a turkey, and they put a cat before the turkey, and the turkey killed the cat.
We're back on turkeys.
And
good job, turkey.
And
hold on.
So after that, they put they took the cat, and they put the baby chirping of the baby inside the cat, and the turkey treated the cat like it was one of the baby turkeys, and took care of it, and so it was triggered to act a certain way, irrationally. So I guess like with the Hitler thing, people were triggered to act a certain way irrationally.
You talking about
sometimes you can say traumatized. Like people can literally be traumatized to act specific ways, and
I would say most forms of indoctrination involve trauma.
The turkey looked at the cat as if it was a baby, and it was not in an irrational way, because it was just being irrational in identifying it for what it is, and looking. So with I guess with Jews, they were looked at in a way that wasn't rational, like they were subhuman.
Yes, they were being irrationally racist. Yes.
And I guess they were looked at as if they were the enemy. They were a threat.
Pretty sure we can say that Hitler had antisocial personality disorder.
Yeah, can we agree that Hitler was a bad guy?
I think he was just a troubled soul.
He was a starving artist who
Put that motherfucker on some Lexapro and let him go. That's all. Get out of my office.
If he got treatment as a child,
I'm
like
talking about the
things
people
could
and
have
the
been
triggering
way
of the
different.
people. I'm talking about the people and the triggering of the people for them to act irrational. The psychology behind it.
Yeah, I got you.
A lot of that could be groupthink, though. So it's kind of hard how much of that is like.
So when the
disease
turkey looked at the cat, when the turkey looked at the cat and it heard the baby chirping coming from the belly, it acted in a rational way and acting kind to the cat, as if it was a baby turkey. But when it's not, it was going off of being triggered of the emotion of the baby turkey.
I gotta tell you, I'm kind of lost, but I think I understand.
So Jews to Nazis so Jews to Germans look like rats. In other words, like rats that you kill in your house. They didn't look like humans.
Yes. I mean, you can see
they triggered. There's a trigger connection between Jews and rats that you'd stomp in your house and you kill and you get rid of. As
boy, if somebody
that's
took this conversation out of context, holy shit.
Well, it's just like we're talking about. The Germans didn't think that. Maybe some crazy Nazis like Hitler believed that, but the German people were most likely just a part of some weird cultural group
psychology and having them look at them in an irrational way. The psychology behind behind looking at them in an irrational way.
You have to understand, in a society like that too, a mass majority of the people were just being like, okay, they just.
I asked the question. I said, what was the psychology and made them act in an irrational?
Calm down, Nivik. Calm down, Nivik.
Nivik. Just let me finish where I'm going. So what I'm trying to point out to you is the mass majority of Germans didn't necessarily like have that same kind of view, but they just you end up going along to get along. If you've ever heard of that phrase before, this is something that humans do. Like Dow was saying, of course there was people like Hitler who were taking it that extreme, and like there were some crazy people in power, but for the mass majority of people, they didn't have that same view. And that's why you can actually see like Germans who actively worked on trying to get Jewish people out of Germany, and to there was it takes all kinds, man. It's not like you can just say, hey, the German people, this is what they did.
Well, the topic's not really the Holocaust. We're talking psychology, and I'm just saying, what was the psychology behind looking? What was the psychology?
That's what I'm saying. You cannot say fucking Germans just do this.
What's the psychology for people to look at other people in an irrational way?
I see exactly what you mean. You're talking about the social psychology of the German people. Yeah.
Well, not all, maybe some. Let's put it that way.
Okay. There you go.
Which people though?
Yeah.
What was the psychology of the mind of some Germans to look at Jews in an irrational way of wanting to kill them?
It could be all sorts of things. I mean, and I was
using an example with the cat and the baby turkey.
Yeah.
There are people in the South in the United States right now that feel that exact same way about Black people. The only difference is they're not in power, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
I live around it. I see it.
Yep. They feel that way about the Jews most of the time too.
Well, it's the same. So the same question applies to them.
Well, Nivik, I think it has to do with a lot of factors. And in Germany, it's going to be different than in the United States because culture has a lot to do with why people do certain things. And I tend to think that it's because that a lot of people are essentially like orthodox in nature. They are raised with certain ideas being the correct ones. They're told that these things are correct, and so they eventually take that to heart or mix it with their identity or something. Where
with the cat
now they're arguing.
With the cat experiment I was using, the turkey had more of a strong emotional trigger reaction in leaning towards the care for the baby bird when it heard the chirp coming out of the belly of the cat.
Can we get off?
Oh my God! Can you like? Anyway. then looking.
Everyone, let Nivik get a work in edgewise, right?
Then looking at the cat. I guess I don't know. What's people so uncomfortable about? Then looking at the cat and then saying, "Well, I'm gonna maul the
Nivik, can you explain this the
Well, you see,
thing?
I'm trying, right?
Well, no. Can you just as simply as you can explain the turkey story? Because I'm lost, dude, on that story.
Thank you.
I just want to hear it, but I do want to understand. I want to hear it.
No, I just said a cat was before the turkey, and
no, wait. I don't know what that means yet. What do you mean? Like a cat and a turkey are standing there?
There's a turkey, bunch of baby birds,
with
a bunch of baby birds, and it attacked the cat, killed the cat as a threat.
The turkey killed the cat? Because it was coming near its chicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they took the cat and they put the chirping of the baby bird inside the cat, and then
wait, what? They took
the cat and they took a recording of the chirping of the baby turkey.
Yeah. Okay.
So the turkey took care of the cat as if it was its baby and put it under
it was making the sound.
It was more strongly emotionally triggered to the sound of chirping.
Okay. So the cat had this chirping sound coming from it, and then the turkey mother felt a motherly instinct towards the cat now.
So it was acting irrational because it's not the baby bird, but it was more triggered by. It was just triggered. It was triggered by the sound of the chirp of the baby bird acting irrational. But in reverse, it could what could have happened in reverse is that you could have like had the baby bird and have a meow, the dead baby bird, and have a meow inside of the bird, and maybe it has a more strong emotional reaction towards wanting to kill of the hatred of the cat, so it attacked the cat. This
needs to be a short story. Holy fuck!
Yeah, you need to write this one down.
I like it though; it's interesting.
So it was just acting irrational.
Yeah,
that's why I asked the question: what would make people behave in a way in
Nivik, that blew my fucking mind, man.
Seeing people the way they in acting irrational.
I see what you mean.
Like we were talking about Jews why would Germans look at them in a way, and I said, well, maybe they looked at them in an irrational way and seeing them as rats. And that's when Scott said,
that's interesting.
Some racists saw the same way with black people.
Yeah, I get the.
I was just asking, what's the psychological? So the people, so people are. Some people are irrational turkeys, and they're looking at and attacking in an irrational way.
Nivik,
is something that isn't.
I'll be right back.
This is brilliant.
Damn irrational turkeys.
You need to write that down, man. That is fucking brilliant.
But yeah, like I was saying, there's many reasons, and it differs per cultural time period. But among them, you might have similar situations to your turkey story where there's like what I called it an orthodox, but essentially an ongoing story that like is handed down generationally that then becomes like an aspect of a person's identity. So they'll say, like, I am like anti-interracial marriage or something like that, because they are so profoundly of that stance that they take it upon themselves now. And it's usually in America, especially because of this orthodox like story that's been passed down. Kind of like if a cat learned to chirp like a turkey to lure baby turkeys to it, even though those baby turkeys would be Yeah,
exactly.
that sort
So,
of thing.
Travis, what I was talking
human
about before
beings,
was how
look,
people.
Nivik, an example of this. An example of this is when human beings bugle in elk, right, when we're hunting.
Dude, well, what is that one bird? So there's a specific bird. I think it's called like a scrub jay. What it does is it goes.
Yeah,
and
the scrub jay.
it kicks
Yeah.
eggs out of like the bird that's like the bird that laid those eggs. It goes in there, kicks those eggs out, lays its own eggs, but then has like the bird come and like raise those birds. It's really weird.
It has like some higher sense of consciousness because it's constantly hiding things because it feels like it's going to be stolen from. Isn't that weird that a bird has that?
It's really strange.
So Travis, there's some people feel triggers that make them feel a way in things that happened to them in the past, it takes them back to that place, maybe a person wear type of shredded pants, and you're just acting negative to that person, but in reality it was when in your childhood a person that had that same type of pants, they beat you up, and it's kind of like you have to introspect and go back to that time that made you feel bad and get over it, because you're getting triggers
in fewer words, Nivik, in fewer words, apply skepticism to the emotional knee-jerk reactions that you have to things.
Yes.
And the emergent qualities of your mind. Just continuing to question and continue to question anything that's emerging, and that includes your emotional knee-jerk reactions to certain things in your environment, and think about why those things are, why you feel that way about certain things.
Yeah, exactly.
Be an irrational turkey.
An irrational turkey. Yeah, don't be. Oh my God, don't be an irrational turkey. Signed, Nivik. We need those T-shirts. I will wear it every day.
With evolutionary psychology, just a quick point. With evolutionary psychology, most mammals aren't born knowing what their mother looks like. That's a part of human growth and development that I learned a while back. Is that like they can imprint on anything as a mother, any other living being. So,
and there's this
that has a lot to
Reese's
do with
monkey
cultural
experiment.
indoctrination. Yeah.
There's this Reese's monkey experiment where they got like one mom made out of like a wire mesh, but that one had like a nipple that gave milk. And then there's this other mom they made that was just like a stuffed Reese's monkey. And they would occasionally like send a very light electric shock through the cage. And when that happened, the Reese's monkey would always run to the stuffed mom, the comfort mom, not to the food. So it's not based off food, it's based off of like comfort, at least in mammals.
That is fundamentally an emotional response too.
Yeah, and Travis, another thing with the introspecting is that you end up knowing yourself, and if an ill will person comes by to try to tear you down, it wouldn't be as effective, because you know who you are. So somebody telling you who you are, insulting you,
if someone insults you, you don't have to feel like the world's going to come to an end. I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, because you know who you are probably more than what they're telling you. What they're telling you.
Yeah, it's a good place to get into a place where you're well enough to be able to maneuver out of difficult or traumatic situations you might come across. So
but here's the thing, Nivek, too. That is also fundamentally dependent on like if somebody's just trying to troll you to like make you feel bad, or if it's like somebody who's close to you who might tell you some information that makes you feel really uncomfortable. It's going to make you feel bad. When people who are close to you who are doing that, like you should probably not just be like, oh, that's just because they're fucking jealous and this kind of stuff. Like that's the point where you need to be like, oh, maybe this person is seeing something that I'm not seeing myself. I know this person well. They care about me. I care about them. Why, you see what I'm saying? Like there is a differentiation there.
Absolutely. You can agree with the person by introspecting at yourself. He's like, if somebody tells you who you are, and you if
Take your time, dude. It's all right.
yeah, you could so if you if somebody tells you, if you look at yourself and somebody tells you who you are, well, yeah, I guess you're right, because you could it could be it could be potentially dangerous though. I mean, it's not
Exactly. And
you don't want to follow a person who might have ill will. You don't want to be fooled by that, and just leave yourself bare. It's like, I'm just gonna like take in whatever this person is telling you. So there's a bit of a decision that you kind of have to make there. It's not like
exactly
you take the word anybody says to you.
When it's not the same kind of decision that you can make that 2 + 2 = 4. Like when we're talking about these kind of decisions on a personal level, there is so many things that you cannot have any sort of markers or measurements for, if you know what I mean. Like there are certain things like you're just gonna have to like, well, I think this person's bad, so you're gonna have to do it. And they might not be bad. That's gonna be the case, but it's
some things
you got to do.
If you introspect, you could see some things that they say might make sense. So that in itself, it's like, well, this thing what they said about me, that's true, and that thing that they said about me, that is also true. So maybe they do know what they're talking about, and maybe I should do what they say and trust what they have to say.
I just wanted to check in for a second.
Okay.
Symmetry. Have we heard from Milos yet?
Yeah, we did earlier.
Okay,
I've been
great.
trying to see. Milo, Milos, I'm sorry. What do you think right now? I'd like to hear what you think.
Hey man, so there were so many topics changed really fast, so I don't know where to begin. But
it's okay.
I just wanted to close the topic with one personal story that you might find interesting or not. But let's just say in terms of the Nazi Germany, I just wanted to close that chapter. After the World War, they were already felt the whole German society was devastated. They were all suffering. So it was easy to manipulate the minds of people who are desperate. Only thing you needed to give them is us versus them logic, and identify like the enemy that they can point to. And, it's a clear enemy. And what I want to say is something about personal experience. I grew up in Serbia, right? And during the 1999, there was a NATO bombing. And I was living in this city called Požarevac. It's a really small city, but it's very important for Serbia because the ex-president Slobodan Milosevic was from that city. And his son Marko, who is now in exile in Russia, was like the main sheriff of the city, right? And all the citizens of that city experienced a lot of, how would say, kind of cowboy lifestyle. He would be uh, dealing with every business possible, racketeering, smuggling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually, there were like a couple of shootings. People were killed. He would like just slap some people randomly in the street. So I witnessed that as a child, let's say 14, 15 years old. And, I built a huge animosity towards the current regime. And my parents were actually fighting actively against that regime, and they lost their jobs because of that, as many of the people. But interesting thing happened is that we had huge hate towards the political party of current president, right? But when the bombing started, what happened is that at that moment you did not feel content to those people around you, even if they were part of this ruling party, right? You tend to see them with compassion, and I know I experienced this in personal direct experience, is that I did not feel hate towards them because we had a common enemy now. It's something much bigger than what was going on in our city. And at that moment you tend to forget or not see all the bullying and all the killings and all that horrible stuff that was going on during the peacetime, let's say like that, because the bombs are falling. And what strangely is, I never felt more secure in my own city. You could walk, you're not afraid of humiliation, because what I learned that people are more afraid of embarrassment, shame, and humiliation than actually being hit by a bomb. And for that reason, that emotional aspect was just so powerful to see people actually coming together for the first time in our city, which was called Forbidden City for many years, because no one outside of President's son had a control over it. And the psychology of the masses is when you have a common enemy, you tend to really reorganize your emotional subtleties really fast, and you tend to unite them. So just thought something to add about that kind of group thinking and group dynamics.
That was awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Excellent.
And that's very true too. Like when you first started off, like to not have an understanding of the Weimar Republic and where that came, like why Nazi Germany came from that, is to not understand Nazi Germany as well, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed.
What about SM Baqueer? Have we heard from
I wasn't even going to try to pronounce that one.
Smbakir? Is that Smbakir?
We also have Yahiko.
Yahiko?
Hello.
How you doing?
Good, how are you? Oh, shit, it's Bruno. Fucking Christ. Fucking kids changing their name on this damn thing.
Wow.
I've just been running on different servers and talking to Muslims, Christians, and all that stuff. So
yeah,
that's up with the name change.
Yeah, good to hear you back, man. It's been a while.
Oh yeah, it's been ages. I came in as Michael Jackson, by the way, Travis.
Oh, that was you? Oh, that was so good. This is Michael Jackson. This is Mike Tyson. Come to Neverland.
That shit was funny from The Office, man. Anyways.
Yeah.
Your cause was a noble one, Yahiko.
My cause was a noble one? What was that?
Because you're Yahiko.
Yeah, he's talking about the anime.
Yahiko, the character. Right. Yeah.
Well, I think Symmetry, do you have anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, we've covered that pretty well. I think everybody shared about as much as they're willing to.
Yeah, well, it's time to relax. It's Tav time. The tavern's open. I hope you guys drop down with us. Those of you on YouTube who are listening, come and join us. We're going to go hang down in our little tavern hangout channel on this Discord server. You guys have the link in the script. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yes, I was going to say, swole-eyed man, jump in, hit that link at the top, go to the Pangburn, hit it, jump in, and you guys can join the convo.
Yeah, come say hi. Thanks to everyone who contributed. Special thanks to Symmetry again for running the Friday discussion. Right on, man. This was awesome.
Thank you.
All right, and this has been the Pangburn Hangout. Let art and science